What's up, Spikes? It's your boy Bill. I'm here to talk to you today about deck protection. It's something I take very seriously. So seriously, in fact, that I actually swapped over all of my inner sleeves from my main deck to KMC Perfect Hards. And while it's great in that it gives you a little bit of extra protection against bends and creases, unfortunately, over 100 cards, the thickness does add up. You end up with a deck that's about probably an inch taller than it's supposed to be, and as a result, it doesn't fit into really any traditional deck box. My solution was to actually get a handmade wooden deck box made to the specifications so that I could fit all my cards in it. Thankfully, our friends over at Gamegenic seem to have the solution to my problems with their Watchtower, their Squire, and their Sidekick from their exclusive XL line. They are supposed to be able to hold up to 100 cards that are double-sleeved in Perfect Hards, so specifically for this scenario. They don't say Perfect Hards, they have their own brand of them, of course, that they recommend. But I'm going to be looking at these today, and I'm going to let you know what my thoughts are. This is a totally free review. They didn't pay us anything to do this. They just sent us the product, and they're interested in our take on it. I'm really excited, so let's get started. We're going to start with the Squire. This is their vertical version. They have a vertical and a horizontal here, and it just depends on sort of what orientation you prefer in terms of having your deck. So this, just right off the hop, I think this says do not eat. That's a good piece of life advice. Right off the hop, I'm actually really impressed with how this feels. It's sort of like a soft touch fabric on every side, including the inside, you can see there. And this is a feature that I actually kind of wanted to lead into slower, but there are magnets on both sides of this here, which is kind of neat because if you want easy access to, say, tokens or something during a game, instead of having them in a closed box and having to flip the lid over and over again, you can actually just keep them in here and it's totally open. And then once you're done with it, you just put your deck back in, slide it back on. So I think that's a really cool feature. That's something that I've never personally seen before in a deck box. The ultimate test, though, to make sure that this actually works, is to see if a double sleeved deck actually fits in here. I think we'll start here. That's about half. And these were just re-sleeved. Some of these, at least, were just re-sleeved today, so there is still a little bit of air in some of these, so it may be a little bit more difficult. Hang on. This is like something that I'm not unfamiliar with in terms of getting this deck into its resting place. Hang on. The fact that it actually all fits in here, even with that little bit of extra finagling, is very impressive. I have tried many different deck boxes and none of them even come close. I actually, for a long time, my solution was to have about this much in one deck box and then have a different deck box with my tokens and stuff, and then like the last 1/10 of the deck in there too. So yeah, that's actually ridiculously impressive. I am actually floored that that worked because I have tried, just like for some examples, I have a bunch of different other types of deck boxes that I've tried that all don't work. They don't fit these. It's like not even close. And you can tell even just comparing to this deck box here, like there is another probably half an inch maybe of space there, which is spectacular. So I like that already. I think we can actually just look at, this is the horizontal version, so this is also 100 plus cards, which again is either 100 double sleeved in Perfect Hards or 100 cards plus tokens, etc. And I do have an extra deck here. This is sleeved in single sleeves. So there are no inner sleeves, but this is just going to be for representation of how much space we got in here if your deck is not quite as tall as one in Perfect Hards. So as you can see, that's a lot of extra space. And that should give you an idea of how it stacks up against, you know, traditional deck boxes. Normally in a traditional deck box, even with single sleeves, you'd have enough space for like maybe 10 tokens in your commander. Maybe a couple other things if you really force them in there, but like this, this is still a ton of space. Another thing that I do want to do, because they do specifically feature the fact that the magnets are super strong, I'm going to do a shake test. I'm going to start with this one. The magnets are really strong, even in this version, again. Like, this is upside down. This isn't coming apart in a backpack anytime soon. And to show how much I trust it, this is my own personal deck. That one was actually not mine. That was Madison's, so I was more comfortable with putting it on the line. This is my own personal deck. This is not going anywhere. This is actually very, very impressive. Of course, this is the first impression, so I don't know how long those are going to last and be that strong. But right out the box, that's spectacular. That is so, so good. And now I think we are also going to look at the Watchtower. So this one is a little bit different in that it has this top section, which is a dice tray. I do want to see how many dice this fits. So we have some D20s here. And, I'll just put some dice in. That's a reasonable amount of dice, I think. That's like 6, 7 D20s and a bunch of D6s. That's, unless you're playing some sort of token deck, I think that's going to be more than enough for you. And then that just slides in. Oh, maybe one out. There we go. So like 6 D20s and then a handful of D6s. And of course, same thing, super strong magnets. That's not going anywhere. That's still really good because I have definitely had that situation where, you think you have your dice like secured somewhere in your bag and then it pops open, and that's just not a fun day. That's not a good way to start a night at F&M or something like that. You want to make sure that those are secured. And then in the actual deck portion, there is this little sort of like chute. I don't know exactly what I would want to call that. But for the deck itself, where did I put decks? Here we go. So the deck itself does fit in here. I know this is also not like a huge groundbreaking feature, but just to give you an idea, it sort of sits in there. The thing that's nice about this, some of the ones that I've personally dealt with, the chute either has like not enough friction or too much friction. So either you have like an explosive decompression sort of situation where you pull it out and your cards go flying everywhere because of buildup of potential energy, I think that's called. With this, because the fabric itself is actually relatively grippy, it's not impossible to take out, but there is a little bit of extra friction there, which honestly to me is pretty nice. It makes it feel a lot more stable and steady. And then, yeah, again, for this, you can... something that's nice about these, actually, is that it is ambidextrous, because you can open it from one side or the other. I am personally right-handed, so most things are just naturally made for right-handed people. That just seems to be the default. Not my decision, but I do apologize. But I have heard from people who are left-handed that with this sort of deck box, it is a little bit obnoxious to have this open and then try to pull the deck out with your left hand. It just not that doesn't really work properly. But if you're able to open it from this side, or just take it off entirely, but if you wanted to, leave that on for argument's sake, it is easier. It's not going to look easier because I am, again, not left-handed, but it makes more sense. Another feature that they do mention on their website for specifically this one is that this sort of inner part can be used as sort of like a dealer's shoe for your deck. So, for example, I've had this situation hundreds of times. Maybe not hundreds, that's maybe overselling it a bit. But when I sleeve a new deck, the sleeves are always really slippery for the first few times until you get those first initial shuffles in. So a lot of the time I'll sit down with a new deck, I'll put it down, and it just immediately slides all over the table. This sort of thing, it's keeping it in place. You know that it's actually staying here, and it's got a little bit of grip, not a ton of grip, but enough that it's not actually accidentally going to slide out. Like even if I do that, okay, maybe if I do that a little bit too aggressively, it'll come out. But if you're just sitting it on the table, it's fine. I could see for the first few times, again, with new sleeves, new slippery sleeves, I could see this being nice just as a quality of life thing so that your deck doesn't go flying everywhere. Even after saying all of this, I think the only thing that really matters is, everybody who plays Magic already has a deck box of some variety. The question would be, is it worth it to make that shift, to swap over all of your existing stuff or even just one deck into one of these? Personally, again, this is a totally unbiased review. This is not paid. I really, really like these. I think that these are really great. I don't think that this is a space that modern deck box companies have actually explored yet. They sort of have their one formula, and they've kept it that way for however long. I think that having even just that little bit of extra room for stuff like this is great. This is the first that I've personally come across of this sort of thing. I don't know if this is something that other companies have done. This is the first time that I've seen it, and I love it. I have tried so many different types of deck boxes, and none of them work properly except for, of course, this handmade one, which is not really accessible or feasible for the everyday person. If I were to keep one of these, I would probably keep the Squire. I like this sort of the vertical style. The horizontal style is also good, but I just feel, especially when you're taking, when you actually are taking the deck out, there's just a little bit more control with vertical. To me, the horizontal one slips a little bit more, but that's no fault of the deck box, really. I mean, it is the horizontal style, but it's the sleeves really that are the slippery point. So if I were to keep one, I'd probably keep this one. We are going to be doing a giveaway for the Watchtower, so be sure to keep an eye out. We are going to be posting a form on spikefeeders.com/Gamegenic, and you will be able to enter to win this guy, this one specifically, the one that I have touched. So that can be a claim to fame for that one if you think that that's important. Anyway, to sum up, I think that these are spectacular. I think I've said that a bunch of times, but really, genuinely, I think that these are great. Huge thanks to Gamegenic once again for sending these over for us to review. I am definitely going to be stealing this one for myself. Thank you all so much for watching, and stay safe out there.
Hey, thank you for checking out the Spike Feeders on YouTube. If you're not subscribed yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button before you close the window, or you can click on this link to check out our other great videos.